Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Hiking Journal, a snowy day hike up on Hot Springs Mountain. Now, Hot Springs Mountain is the tallest peak in San Diego County. At 6,535 feet, it just barely nudges out nearby Cuyamaca Peak just a few miles away in the Cuyamaca Rancho State Park. The mountain area is also located entirely within the boundaries of the Los Coyotes Indian Reservation that was established by executive order in 1889. The reservation is over 25,000 acres and borders the Anza Borrego Desert State Park and the Cleveland National Forest, with some of the most beautiful mountain scenery in all of San Diego County. Now, I've been up to the top of Hot Springs Mountain several times. I've checked out the abandoned fire tower, and I've scaled the summit block and sat on the flat concrete near the benchmarks. I've even posted a video of my adventure up here last year. On today's adventure, I take a solo trip up the steep fire road and enjoy some cool winter conditions and set up a nice little spot for lunch. I also show you what's in my day pack and share a video of a unique vintage backpacking stove I use to cook my lunch. All of this will be coming up in this episode of the Hiking Journal. Now, even though this has been a drought-filled year in Southern California, we were fortunate to get just a little bit of rain last week, and at the upper elevations, like on Hot Springs Mountain, they actually got a little snow. I was excited to get a chance to head back up to this scenic mountain for a picnic lunch and smell that fresh pine air. Well, good morning and welcome back to another edition of the Hiking Journal. Today I'm on the Los Coyotes Indian Reservation and I'm going to be taking a trip up to the top of Hot Springs Mountain. It's actually the San Diego County high point. It's not real tall as far as mountain goes. It's about 6,600 feet and change, but it does beat out the nearby Cuyamaca Peak, which is only 20-30 miles from here. So anyway, looks like I'm the first person up here today, and I'm going to be heading up this way. It's a round trip hike of about 10 miles. It's about 40 degrees right now, 41 degrees. It's supposed to be a little chilly today. And we're supposed to be getting a significant storm coming in tonight and tomorrow, and they're expecting almost a foot of snow at the higher elevations. We'll get a dusting here, but not a whole lot. But it looks like they've made some improvements here in the Los Coyotes Indian Reservation. The campground is now open. There's nobody here, and I'm the first one here at the trailhead. So anyway, stick around. We're going to head up the trail up Sucat Road, which is a fire road that goes to the top of a junction, where I'll turn right and head up to Hot Springs Mountain. That'll be coming up next on this edition of the Hiking Journal. I'll see you in a few minutes. Well, this is the start of the trail. It's just right around the corner from where I parked the Jeep. There used to not be any signs here, and now there is. I had to go to the community center to get my hiking pass for today. The ranger told me that they were closed for today because the only ranger they have on duty has to work Christmas Day, and he wanted today off. So anyway, they told me there'd be some people up here working on the trail signs, so good for them. I'm also wearing my McGregor kilt. So I haven't worn this one in a while. It's going to be a nice day today, so it's perfect for kilt hiking. It's in the 40s, so I've got lots of ventilation flowing underneath. I've also got some wool socks, got a wool sweater on, and also a really thin icebreaker merino wool t-shirt on underneath, so I got to be able to stay warm while I'm moving out of vent the heat pretty well. This is a pretty steep climb. It's about 2,500 feet of elevation gain in about the first 2.5 miles, so it's 1,000 foot a mile, so it's pretty steep. And once we get up to the top, it'll level off a little bit, and it won't be as bad, and that's when the cool breeze is going to hit. Plus, with the higher elevation, the temperature is going to start dropping as the day goes on, and it's going to be a little chillier, so this wool sweater will come in handy. I also have a rain shell in the pack, along with some additional longer wool over socks I can wear on top of these. So if you think I'm going to get cold up here in the mountains, as long as I'm moving, I should be fine. I told you it's steep. It starts off pretty steep. But what I wanted to show you here was I read a forum post just from last week, actually just a few days ago, where they said there was quite a bit of snow and ice as I catch my breath here. And I noticed these footprints on the trail, and you can tell whoever it was wearing micro spikes. You can see they had either yak tracks or something to aid in their descent. This is pretty steep, so I can imagine that if this was snowy and icy just a few days ago, it could be a traction problem, but looks pretty clear today. And I also have a set of micro spikes too, so it should be good to go. I know it doesn't look like much on camera, but this is a pretty steep grade, and it continues up to the left here for a good 2 miles. So I'm definitely going to get my cardio in today. I also want to tell you, today's the first day of winter, which is also the shortest day of the year. So it's going to get dark about 4:30 this afternoon. I should be down, I would imagine 3-ish, 3:30 from the top. So it shouldn't be too bad. Anyway, up I go. Whew, I gotta stop and catch my breath here. You can see there's a little more snow now. Not a lot. It's mainly on the northeast side of the slope, and I'm not too far from a spot where it levels out just a touch. Looking forward to that. In the meantime, I still have the place all to myself so far. Well, I've worked my way up quite a bit of the steep section along the fire road here as I'm working my way up toward the top of Hot Springs Mountain. And the cute girl I talked to at the community center that I got my hiking pass from mentioned to me that they were adding a bunch of trail signs. And this one definitely wasn't here last time I was here. And where I parked the Jeep just a few feet past it was a trail sign for the Tuckwet Trail. And here's the sign. So I'm assuming that if you wanted to, you could take a right here. You could go down to this other sign, and you could take this trail. My guess is to the right, downhill and to the right, back down to the campground. It said the campground was 1.75 miles from here. So, but that's not where I'm going. Actually, it's 1.75 that way and only 3/4 of a mile this way. So there you go. But I'm not going that way. I'm going up this way. And believe it or not, that is not Hot Springs Mountain right there. You would think it would be, but it's not. All right, I'm just past that sign for the Tuckwet Trail. And you can see here that the trail is getting a little damper. There's a little more snow on the trail. But the one thing I wanted to show you, I was waiting for this because I saw it earlier. I saw track marks on the trail further down, and at first I thought they were maybe a mountain lion or bobcat, and I was looking for a better view of them because they were, you know, they had been there a while and the ground wasn't quite moist enough to leave a real good set. But now you can see them pretty well if I can get the camera to focus on them right here. So those are dog tracks, and you can tell because of the oval shape, and you can actually see, especially on this set, you can see the toenail marks. That's how you know it's canine. But what I saw down below was another set of tracks that were more round than oval, and they did not have nail marks on the tips. And the other thing that I noticed was they were not going up the trail or down the trail like it was a dog hiking with the owner on the Hot Springs Mountain Trail, but something that was crossing the trail at right angles, coming up from a ravine on the right and heading up slope to the left. It wasn't big enough to be a mountain lion because it was smaller than my fist. So my guess is that was probably a bobcat print. And I was hoping to find another print similar that I could show you in a more moist environment so it would stand out better. This one was kind of hard to see. So I don't know, maybe we'll keep looking. Maybe I'll see something in a little while. All right, well, here's another set of prints. And these are significantly smaller. These are probably, a little larger than a golf ball size. Those are interesting. Was there a second dog? I guess we'll find out later if we see some more prints. You know, as I'm working my way up this steep section here, you have to remember that on winter trips especially, you don't want to hike so fast that your body heat puts out more than your clothing can handle. And once your clothes get saturated in sweat, and then you stop, you'll get chilled really fast. Your body core temperature will drop, and you'll start to become hypothermic, especially if it's a really cold day with nice stiff breeze. So I'm trying to keep my pace down slow enough to where I can keep the moisture management at a decent level, so I can evaporate what sweat I produce without the risk of becoming chilled later. So it's going to be a slow day, at least for this part. And I have seen some snow patches. Most of it's been off the trail and very small. Well, it looks like there's some writing in the snow here. It must have been somebody that was up here just a day or two ago. Well, it looks like somebody that was up here had time to write their name in the snow. Tony, it looks like Nasbreen, 12, maybe 10. I think it says 20, but we know it's not 20. It's got to be 21. Anyway, it's finally starting to level off a little bit. I'm looking forward to this. I can catch my breath. All right, well, we're finally hitting a little more snow, but this isn't so much snow as it is ice. As the day goes on and the temperature heats up, it's supposed to be in the low 50s today. This should melt and become soft and slushy. And if it wasn't, this would be frozen solid ice and it would be slippery. It's easy to go around. I mean, I can just go walk around. It's not a big deal, but you won't be able to do this come next week because you're expecting a foot of snow up here at this elevation. And at some point, it looks like there's even more snow ahead of me. I might have to break out the micro spikes. We'll see. And this is rather interesting. You can see how the ice is given way here, where it puddled and melted. But once I get through this little section right here, it looks like it's pretty clear as I work my way up to the right. So the micro spikes are going to stay in the pack for now. Well, there's something else I wanted to show you. See these holes? They're rhythmically placed. So that just tells you whoever was hiking up here not only had a dog, they were using a trekking pole or a staff. And it looks like, because I only see one pole hole, it was probably just one trekking pole. Like I said, this isn't easy. This is another steep section. Might not look like it, but it is. And I'm starting to sweat quite a bit. So I'm trying to slow my pace a little bit to help out with the moisture management. Quite a few jets have flown over. I can hear them in the background. And it looks like the sun is trying to come out. It looks like I'm not too far from the top of this section, at least. Well, I'm still working my way up. But I came to this tremendous viewpoint. And I'm looking east out toward Ansbarago, toward Julian, out that direction. I think that peak in the clouds way off in the distance could very well be Cuyamaca Peak. And then over to the right, that's the entire Palomar Range right there. And I believe that's the fire tower that you can see on the top. Palomar Observatory is behind it, off to the right. We get a little higher up, you get a better view of that. But in the meantime, I'm continuing my climb. Well, I finally reached the top of that climb. And now it's leveling off. I'm actually going downhill a little bit now to the spot that I know that's a great location for a picnic. Good place to camp if you were doing that. And for me, just a good spot to take a break. So there's a little more snow up here at this elevation, but For the most part, it's manageable. There's more dirt on the path than there is snow. There is a little patch coming up right here, but it's not icy, so that's a good thing. So when I get up here to this little spot, I'm going to take a break and maybe make me a cup of coffee or maybe even some pine needle tea. Who knows? There are some pines up here. The pines are starting to take over, and the oaks are starting to go away as we get a little higher up. We're probably about, I imagine 5,500 feet, maybe 6,000 feet right here. A little bit of moss growing there. And guess what? It's on the north side. Just like the old adage, moss grows on the north sides of the trees. Well, not always, but in this case it's true. Anyway, crossing a little patch of snow. A few minutes, I'll be in a good spot to take a break. Well, I finally reached the top section, and that's a new sign for the campground, and that says Quiet Road Loop, that direction. We're going to continue up a little ways toward our little picnic spot. Well, I went a little further, and they have done some improvements. Like this is a new sign. Hot Springs Mountain Road. A hiking symbol on it, that's nice. What I noticed is this right here, Quiet Road Loop. There's actually a picnic table over there. That wasn't there before. And here is the main intersection, right up here. Hot Springs Mountain's going to go to the right. And another road is going to be going to the left. And this is my picnic spot. Well, hello and welcome back to another edition of the Journal. Today I'm up on Hot Springs Mountain, which is the highest point in San Diego County, and it snowed last week. It's about 6,500 feet or so, about where I'm at right now, maybe a little less, and we got a pretty good dousing of snow. A lot of it's melted, but there's going to be a lot more as we head further up the mountain, and there's going to be a lot more coming tonight, tomorrow, and continuing through the Christmas weekend. We're supposed to get a foot of snow up here, but the reason I came up here today was never want to get out of the house, and it's always fun to hike in the cooler conditions, but I wanted to go through some of the contents of my pack. Now this pack I've had for about a year. This is a Jacari pack from Savoda. This is the medium-sized pack, and it's about 3,000 cubic inches, and I believe that's maybe a little more if you expand the top collar. But what I really love about this pack is the durability of it, and the way it fits and the way it wears when you're hiking. This is not a lightweight day pack. This day pack is really heavy, but the price you pay for the weight you make up for in comfort, because I've been able to use this pack on day hikes. I've used it on short overnight trips, and this thing's bomb-proof. This is a 1000 Denier Cordura, which is similar to what they make the Maxpedition and other military grade or mil-spec packs with. But anyway, let me go through some of the contents. On the outside of my pack, and I think that's about it. That's going to do it for the contents of my pack. But what I do have to show you is what I brought up here today to cook lunch on. And this is one thing I'm excited about. Normally this wouldn't come with me on a day hike. This is more of a car camping thing, but it's small enough and it's cool enough, so I thought I want to bring it. I'm going to use it today to help me make lunch out here along the trail to Hot Springs Mountain. That'll be coming up next. Stay tuned. Well, this is what I was excited to show you. This little thing right here. Now this is something I picked up at a thrift store about, I don't know, 2 years ago. And I was really excited when I saw this because I used to have one similar to this. I had a little Coleman backpack stove, and this was before backpack stoves got the size that they are now. They're microscopic tiny. In fact, I have a small little BRS 3000 that weighs 11 grams, less than an ounce. But in the old days, this is what they used. I was excited about this because you don't see these anymore. This is a Coleman Peak 1 576 backpack stove. This one was made in Canada. This is a Canadian version. I also have a little silicone heat pad for it. And I just brought some coffee with me today and some snacks. I carry it in this box. I usually don't bring this on a backpack trip, or mainly for car camping, but it did fit in the pack today, so I thought, how cool is that? I'm going to use this thing. When I first got it, I was a little concerned that it was a little hard to start. So I worked on it a bit. I cleaned it up a little bit, and I think I'll show it to you here real quick. That's it right there. That's the Coleman 576. 576, and this one was made, believe it or not, in 1976. So this stove is 45 years old, and it has a tank reservoir. I don't know how much it holds. It holds enough for several meals, 5 or 6 meals, maybe even more than that. And it's got a little pressurized pump on the side. This is the little lever that moves the generator. I found out that this is kind of finicky, and for me, the best thing that I found that works the best is to move this back and forth about 10 times. This will clean the jet and allow the fuel to flow through this copper tube along the top. And the actual on and off valve is over here. But the first thing you got to do is you got to pump this thing up, and it says to open the valve, put your thumb over the hole, and just like every Coleman lantern that's white gas powered, or other stove that's gas powered, you got to pump it up. Just like you have to pump up the MSR whisper lights. Supposed to put about 30 pumps in. Let's give this a good pump here. It's about 35 or 40 pumps. It's pretty full, I can tell. I was getting quite a bit of resistance there toward the end. And now I got to find my matches. It also works best if you preheat this copper tubing. Now, it's kind of hard to preheat the copper tubing when it's windy, but I can try my best here just to warm up just part of it, just something. It is a little breezy here. I do have the windscreen. I probably won't need it, but we'll see. I'll let the match sit on here for a minute, maybe get just a little bit of help. Now, you don't have to do this. You can just turn the valve, but I found this is what works best for me and what works best for this little Coleman Peak stove. It does take a few minutes to prime, just like even the MSR whisper lights have to prime. So what you're going to do is you're going to put this all the way over to full or high, and you're going to turn this little red knob down to the light position, and you can hear the white gas flowing through the stove. So I'll turn this on again, and there we go. So this is going to take a few minutes. It'll take a few minutes for the stove to heat up enough to where I can actually use it. I mean, I could put a pot on there right now if I wanted to, but I'm going to let this go a little bit, and you'll see a little bit of yellow flames early on, and then it'll settle down. Like I said, I do have a windscreen that I can use if I need to, but I don't think I'll need it today. Ooh, don't need the hair on those knuckles, I guess, huh? Maybe you'll be able to see the flame a little better if I put the windscreen up. And eventually this will settle down to a nice blue ring, and then I can turn the little red valve a little off to the side, and then that'll give me a little cleaner flame. So let's take a few minutes to prime, and I'll get my lunch going. You know, the one thing I did forget to do after I got the initial stove going, you saw the yellow flames. You're supposed to give it about another 20-30 more pumps. I didn't do that. Totally forgot, and then it hit me, and I just did that. I just pumped it up, and now it's roaring like a blast furnace, even to the point where I can turn the volume down here. I went ahead and poured just about 8 ounces of water in this titanium mug, and I put my lid back inside. Let's see if I can find it real quick. All right, there we go. So now I'm going to cook this a little bit, heat this up so I can make some coffee in my cooksa. And today I'm going to be using some of this Avalanche coffee. If you've never had Avalanche coffee, this stuff's phenomenal. It comes all the way from New Zealand. I get it at Marshall's and Ross. It comes in every now and then. They have 3 or 4 different flavors. This one is cappuccino, and this one is a caramel latte. So I can be fancy and I can have a caramel latte out here in the trail. This has the milk and the sugar in it all in one, so you don't have to worry about bringing anything else. And what I like about it is it's all in one. All you got to do is pour it in, add your water and stir, and you're ready to go. Like I said, this won't take long because they only have about 8 ounces. I'll turn it up just a little bit, and you'll get a feel for how quick this is in real time. And for lunch today, I'm going to try some of this Campbell's Chunky Sirloin Burger with country vegetables. That's going to be my lunch today. Nice cool day. It's nice to have soup. It actually feels pretty good just hanging out here by the stove, because this is really nice. I can feel the heat coming off here. It's kind of hard to resist the temptation to keep peeking at it to see when the bubbles are forming. Coffee, water boils at 212 degrees. You really don't want your coffee at 212. So if you wait till it gets to a full rolling boil and then you make your coffee, then you have to wait for it to cool down. Coffee is best brewed about 200 degrees. So what I'll do is I'll let it get to almost a rolling boil, and I'll back the stove off, and then I'll put my soup in this cup, and I'll cook my soup. And I'll eat right here out of this titanium mug. And it's almost at a boil now. All right, well, it's been just a few minutes, and I am at a full rolling boil right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this down a little bit. I'm going to leave it going. And I'm going to go ahead and pour some of this water in my cooksa. It's a little warm. I probably should let it cool down, but coffee does sound good right now. And of course, I put too much water in it. I'll let this caramel latte cook as I warm up my wrist here over this stove, because it's still going. You probably can't see this rich foam that this coffee makes. We'll let this set a few minutes so it's not too hot for me to drink. In the meantime, I gotta get my soup going. And of course, you don't have to add water to this. You can just pour it straight in the cup. And I have a little Ziploc bag. I can take this can home with me. I'm going to heat it up on low because I don't want it to get to a rolling boil too fast. Because I do want to take the time to enjoy my coffee and enjoy the heat coming off this stove. Anyway, here's the Avalanche Caramel Latte Coffee on Hot Springs Mountain. There's a chunk of caramel right there. You know, I promised you earlier I'd show you my fire kit. That's this right here. It's a little waxed canvas bag with some leather string around it, and I'll show you what's inside here. I carry this with me on all my hikes, all my backpack trips. On my backpack trips, I tone it down. I don't have nearly as much. But when I go out on a bushcraft trip like I am today, this is perfect. So inside this, I've got a couple of different things. First thing is I have a brass. It's actually really nice. The guy that made these is no longer with us and no longer makes these, but there's knockoffs you can buy. It's a knurled brass container that holds waterproof matches inside. I also have a little strip of striker, so I can also use the edge of this, but I also have a little strip inside there. And it's got a couple of rubber O-rings, and I have spare O-rings, so this keeps it waterproof. And it has this little lanyard that goes around it. It's heavy, but it's vintage, and I like it. The other thing I have in here is this little aluminum rod, but I've got some jute twine in here. And I can use this to catch the fire, to catch the spark from a fire steel, and then I can use this to start my fire. Then when I want to put it out, I just pull it back inside. I've only used this once, but it did work. I do have a couple of pieces of fat wood. I always keep a couple of pieces of fat wood just in case you need it. If you do ever need to start a fire in wet conditions, fat wood's the way to go. I bought these. I think I got them at Walmart. These are fire strikers. These also work really well. They're gigantic matches is what these are. And these burn for a long time, 5, maybe 10, 15 minutes. If you can't get a fire started with this is like a road flare. If you can't get a fire started with this, then you're in trouble. A couple more pieces of fat wood. This thing I bought just because I loved it. I love the nostalgia of having one of those. It's a real bitch to open, I got to tell you. This is a old tobacco tin. It's not old. It's new. I bought it new. Keep checking. I don't want my soup to boil over. So inside this Hudson Bay fire tin, first thing you'll notice is it has a cap on it, and the cap has a magnifying lens in the top. So you can use this by itself just to start a fire. Inside the tin, I have some flint and some steel. This is my favorite way to start a fire. I love doing fires with flint and steel. All you need to do, you just need to catch an edge. You probably can't see it in the daytime, but it's throwing a spark off the edge of this piece of flint. Normally you would put a piece of small char cloth on top, give it a few strikes with the steel, catch the spark on the char cloth, and then put it inside your tinder bundle and blow it into a flame. It works really well. I've also got a spare piece of flint in here along with some char cloth. I always keep that. This goes with me on all my trips. And I've also got some old jute twine and a bunch more char cloth right here that I made previously, months back before I came out here. And this goes inside the fire tin. And the only other thing that's in here I haven't talked about, it's starting to heat up, is this. This is a pocket bellows. If you've never used a pocket bellows, it's basically a real expensive car antenna. Not really, but you expand these just like you would a car antenna. And you use this to put this down in the very bottom of your fire, especially in the morning after you've already put the fire out, but there's still some little bit of embers in the bottom. You can blow on the end of this, and you can direct oxygen directly down into the base of the fire, and you can get what you thought was a dead fire into a raging inferno. You can also do it to get fire started. If you've got just a little bit of difficulty getting your fire started, you can use this to add additional oxygen. And I used this on the last backpack trip I went on, and it's pretty impressive. Anyway, that's it for my fire kit. I think my soup is probably about ready. I see some starting to bubble a little bit, so I got to tend it, check it. I don't want it to overheat, and I got to get my coffee before it cools. Well, I finally got my vegetable soup cooking here. I've got my caramel latte in my cooksa. Oh, that's good. It's so creamy. Don't know if it goes with vegetable soup, but we'll give it a shot. It's always good to have soup on a cold day. Bottom of this cup's still hot. I don't dare set it on my polyviscose kilt. It'll melt. So far, I haven't seen anybody else up here. I'm not too far off the trail. I could see if anybody else were to come by. So far, nobody. And the sun looks like it's trying to come out. It's also heating up. You know, Hot Springs Mountain's about probably 2 more miles up the trail. And it meanders up and down. And then at the very end, it shoots straight up to the fire tower. I've been up there several times, so I don't think I'm going to go up there today. I just came out here, play around, set up my tarp, play with the old Coleman stove, make lunch, enjoy what little snow we had up here at this elevation, and enjoy some hot soup and some nice, tasty coffee up here just a few days before Christmas in inland San Diego County. So anyway, that's going to be it for this edition of the Journal, my trip up toward Hot Springs Mountain, and my little impromptu picnic, and my Coleman 576 45-year-old stove. Anyway, stay tuned for more episodes of the Hiking Journal. Be sure and click and subscribe and like the video. And this way you'll get notifications whenever I post a new episode. We should have something else that might be pretty exciting coming up next month. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a trip to the Mojave Preserve, which is sort of in between Barstow and Needles and Vegas out in the Mojave Desert in Southern California. So that's going to be coming up probably in the next month. Looking forward to that. In the meantime, I might do another day hike between here and there. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what kind of snow we get. Maybe it'll even be a snowshoe trip. Who knows? Anyway, take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Well, I'm starting back to the car. It's early in the afternoon, and this was a nice little trip, a nice little getaway. Well, I think my wife just got the message on the inReach. You can hear it. I got to answer it, or I'll never hear the end of it. Well, I just answered the inReach. Now I've got to negotiate this little section of snow and ice here as I'm working my way down. I haven't seen the need to use the micro spikes. The snow is softened up as it's warmed up throughout the day, and it's probably 50, I would imagine, enough to give the snow a little bit of cushion. And normally this trail is kind of dusty, so it's kind of nice. There's a lot of moisture on the trail, so you don't kick up all that dust. And there's some magnificent trees down here, some fabulous pines and firs, as well as cedars where I was set up. In fact, there's some cedars over on the distance here. And that's where I just came from, up there toward the top. But some magnificent trees up here. If you've never been up to Hot Springs Mountain, you're missing out. A lot of people get thrown off by the $10 fee the Native Americans from the Los Coyotes Indian Reservation charge, but to me it's some of the best $10 you've ever spent. That's what a couple of coffees at Starbucks, maybe one venti foofy coffee, but you can't get views like this and solitude like this. I haven't seen one person today, not one. Perfect fall outing. Well, that'll do it for this edition of the Journal, my solo trip up to Hot Springs Mountain. If you have any questions or comments about this or any other edition of the Journal, drop me a note or a comment below. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and tap that notification bell to get the heads up when I post another edition of the Journal. Oh, and by the way, they've also got a brand new Los Coyotes Reservation website with some great hiking information on it, links to get the permit online for the trip, and even trail information. They did a really good job on this one. Be sure and check it out. And just a reminder, since you're a guest on their beautiful reservation, there is a $10 per person fee for the permit. Anyway, take care, be safe, and enjoy this cool winter season. Bye-bye.